Hi, it's Tara. Today I want to talk a little bit about patterns of behavior, patterns of reacting to things that we've developed as coping mechanisms or just in response to overwhelming events that have happened to us. And typically we see these things in a few common areas. A lot of times it's going to show up in relationships, it's going to show up in intrusive thoughts, kind of those racing thoughts that keep happening, or in the sense that we're just hyper aware of things all of the time. And that's really common in trauma. When the trauma hasn't been worked through, when we're stuck in a state of fight and flight, that we really are in a state of this hyper awareness or hypervigilance. We're waiting for something to happen. And typically what we're looking for are any indicators that might signal a threat that we've previously experienced. So that's a cue that we haven't really worked through that in our system because we're still looking for it. When we're looking for it, our perception really gets distorted about is that a threat or is that just something new? Is that neutral or is everything becomes a threat? We become so hyper aware of everything. And what that shows us is that there's really an inability of the nervous system to come back down to baseline and to really be able to self-soothe and to come back to a healthy kind of grounded state. So that's one area where we'll see that come up. Another one will be in relationships. Again, a lot of our relationships bring up the stuff that we haven't worked on in ourselves. And in relationships, how that typically shows up is we'll have a negative experience with somebody in some area of our life, in our connectedness, in our relationships, often in romantic relationships. And as we come out of that emotional experience, if we haven't really done whatever work is needed to work through that, what happens is we start painting everybody that we meet going forward with the same brush. So we're looking for anything that might, again, signal threat of what we've previously experienced because we don't want to experience it again. And so we start looking for behaviors that our ex-friend or our ex-partner might have had in the next person that may or may not be relevant as far as how they're going to treat us, how they're going to be with us. That's really common when people have been cheated on, when they've been betrayed or lied to, or when somebody's just gone crazy on us. We start looking for that in the next person, and all of a sudden we don't trust anybody. We feel like everybody's going to be crazy to us. We feel like everybody's going to cheat on us, betray us, and we get stuck in this pattern of painting everybody with the same brush, in the same light. We miss out on the opportunity to be able to differentiate different patterns of behavior, what might be totally neutral, what might be just a personality quirk, what is really something that's a red flag that we need to pay attention to. We lose that when we're scanning all the time to protect against, as a defense mechanism, what we've been hurt by in the past. So that's a common area. Another area I see a lot, I've experienced this myself, is if you've had a serious health issue ever. If you've had anaphylaxis, if you've had, a serious disease that you've recovered from, anything that's really been scary or overwhelming, coming out of surgeries, that sort of thing, that can really create this sense of hypervigilance, not out here, but actually like inside. And so as we come out of that, if we don't work on the trauma of some of those experiences or working through those events, we can easily get stuck in this place where we are constantly scanning for every symptom or pain or discomfort in our body, and everything can become a disease factor or a negative prognosis or the worst case scenario, because our brain naturally goes to that negative bias to worst case scenario. And so if we've had negative experiences, they imprint deeper in the brain, they hold for longer, and we are more likely to then be able to pull them up again going forward. So again, if you feel like as you've recovered from something serious in the past or a scare that you've had, that you feel now really worried about your health, that you're scanning every symptom, that you can't stop thinking about, is that okay? What is that? What could that be? If you're running to the doctor, that's a really good time to get some of this work done. It's telling you that your nervous system hasn't really worked through those experiences. And again, every symptom becomes worst case scenario. Every new person you meet becomes the worst case scenario for your relationships. Every dog that you meet is the dog that bit you. Every, car that you come around the corner at is the car that hit you. We start scanning and making everything, we have this globalization that we do, making everything represent what hurt us, what we haven't worked through in the first place. So these are all common areas where we'll see these patterns, and the patterns are really telling you that this is an area that you need to address in your life. They might have developed as coping mechanisms. They are symptoms of a dysregulated nervous system. It's a good idea to do this work because you can actually change these patterns. And then what we do in session is start looking for the positive. We start retraining the brain in the positive pathways, positive scenarios, giving people benefit out of the doubt, learning how to trust again, learning how to be vulnerable, assessing things with a perception that's a little more accurate, getting people alongside with you that you trust that are going to help you manage those perceptions as you go along. So all of this is really important work. You're probably going to notice some of your own patterns. Take a look at them. Again, be bold in this area. Instead of running from it or just dismissing it, these are signs that you can do some work on it and change. So I encourage you to do so. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon.